Hello there. Welcome to another episode of Overfilled the podcast. It is our great joy to have you joining us for this time. And as you can see, we have, or if you can't see, if you're listening, you'll hear in a minute, we have extra people here today. So I am joined by my regulars, Dr. Jamie Kuzner and Dr. Brooke Messer. And our special guest today is Carri Rivera, who is a consultant queen at Bausch & Lomb Special Vision. And we are going to spend our episode today talking specifically about how consultants do their thing to get us the best lenses and how they use information. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But before that, let's talk about what overfilled us for the last, has it been a week and a half now, I suppose? The last week and a half. So Jamie, if you want to take it away, go for it. I know you've had an exciting week.
Yes, it has. I've had an exciting week. I feel like my life is always exciting in unexpected ways. But I guess my first overfilled was that my girls started school this week. So Olivia, my oldest, started kindergarten. So there's a little picture of her for those watching, both of them actually. So Olivia started kindergarten. It's her first time. She got to go on the school bus. So she was excited for that. Eloise was starting preschool. So she was just excited to be holding a sign in the picture. So that was super fun. But then also this week, we had really bad storms in Michigan. Tons of wind damage. So we lost power for a couple days. And while I lost power, we actually had an unexpected guest that showed up in our house. And it was a raccoon. So the raccoon actually found its way into our home during all the chaos of us losing power. And then we actually found it last night in our garage. And it was inside of Olivia's little car. We had been looking for it for days with flashlights, and my husband found it. There's a hilarious video of him from a Ring camera finding the raccoon that brought me so much joy last night watching 100 times. But there's our little house guest that tried to live in our house with us, little raccoon. So that just always adds extra chaos to, the first week of school, no power, running a practice, having a raccoon tear up your house. Just another day in the life over here. But those are my overfilled. So kind of silly, fun ones from my social life. But
that may be the one and only time a raccoon will overfill one of us for an episode.
That's the first and the last, probably.
hopefully.
Hopefully so. All right. Well, Brooke, what was your overfilled experiences this week?
I was a little late getting to the login today, so I can't upload the photos of my kids, but it was also first week of school for my kids. And I have both now at the same school. So Hunter is in pre-K and Nora's in second grade, and their elementary school has a pre-K. So it's really nice to be able to drop them both off at the same spot in the morning. And of course, Hunter likes it is so nice. And Hunter likes the curb drop off like Nora. When Nora was that age, I would walk her in, I would park and then walk in. But so as soon as we get pulled up to the curb, Nora rips off her seatbelt, goes over to Hunter, helps him get out. Then they both grab their backpacks, like they're jumping out of a helicopter, and they're like, go, go, go. And then Nora jumps out on the curb and reaches for Hunter, and he jumps out, and they're both looking like they're flying out of the car, like they're skydiving. And then they run in, and of course backpacks are going everywhere because they're as big as Hunter is. And so I'll have to catch them on video this next week and show it at our next podcast. But that's pretty fun. And they both have their little school uniforms on, which are just super cute. So that's been fun. And then we are cruising along here in residency 2 months in, and really still just working, really enjoy working with Laura Holtz, who's our current resident. So that's been really fun. And we are preparing for our local symposium, ophthalmology practice. We give CE to our local doctors, or not give, but we present CE to our local doctors, and been preparing for that. So that's been really fun, getting creative with ways to connect with our network. So looking forward to that. That's in 3 weeks.
Very nice.
And we actually just pranked Nick, my co-optometrist over here, thinking that he forgot to prepare some lectures. So we're enjoying the moment, watching him sweat.
And he actually believed you, right?
He does right now. He still thinks he is building slides next door here.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
But anyway, so how about you, Jason?
Well, as you guys can see, I have a special guest with me this week, and it just worked out because this is Ethan, by the way. Sorry.
Hey, everyone.
So I met Ethan, has it been almost 2 years now?
Yeah, I think
Pretty
so.
close.
Just about 2, yeah.
So Ethan has some messed up eyes. I'm not saying anything he doesn't already know. So can I talk about you a little
Yeah,
bit?
absolutely.
So Ethan had Stevens-Johnson syndrome when he was 7.
Yep.
7 years old. And so he's got a lot of the effects on his eyes, mucous membrane, cornea vascularization, all sorts of stuff. But one thing he does have is he has lots of issues with trichiasis. So that requires every 2 weeks I get to see him to pull lashes. So we have a standing date every 2 weeks.
Yep.
A little bit of scraping, a little bit of mucus, and
It's like
good stuff.
It's like my spa day, you know?
Your spa day, right? So today we pulled some lashes, we scraped some gunk, we lavaged, we talked little Vikings.
Little Vikings always.
And so and then of course he wears a scleral in the right eye and a bandaged soft lens in the left. And so we've I don't know how many times I've seen you now, but we have a regular appointment. So he's already made his appointment for 2 weeks today before he left. And
a lot.
so
How's your comfort, Ethan?
My comfort's
with your eyes.
You know, I feel like I'm very tolerant of like how things are, so I don't ever really realize how much like better it can be until, you know, like I'll get to that 2-week mark where I'm like the day before I see Dr. Jedlicka, I'm like, oh, like I can start to tell a little bit, and then like that next day I get like a lot of relief, and so that's kind of like the cycle. But for the most part, like I feel like I've got pretty good comfort for the most part.
Yeah.
And how about your vision? Do you feel like you're pretty functional and do what you can do?
Yeah, I definitely do what I you know, I mean, despite my vision, I still, you know, do what I need to do. You know, my left eye is pretty blurry, but
Okay.
you know, I've got all the peripheral to help me out, and then my right eye has been clear. At the moment, it's not the clearest, but you know, I'm still going to classes, and you know, like just a month ago, I was in Greece for quite a while. So, you know, blurry vision or not, you know, I still am able to do what I need to do, and so yeah, you know, it fluctuates a lot, but you know, it's good enough to get by. Do what I you know, like.
Is that tough when you're traveling for like a month at a time, like especially out of the country? Because what do you do? Like, how do you find
stories of him getting his solutions to Greece was interesting.
This is like a whole whole debacle. But yeah, so you know, when I flew there, I was like thinking like, oh, like the customs and everything. Like I don't want to take like all these bags. I just want to carry one big backpack. And so, you know, I've got all my different solutions and backup supplies and so much stuff. And I'm like, well, maybe it'll be easier to just send myself a box, and then I'll pick it up at, you know, when I land, I'll just pick it up and, you know, I can carry it around with me, but at least I don't have to travel back and forth with it. And so, you know, I get there and I'm like ready to get it, and customs is like, nope, you're not getting this. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. I really need like everything in there, you know?
Yeah.
And so I had like enough to get by for a couple of weeks, and then I ran out of like everything pretty much. And so I ran to the Athens Eye Hospital, and I'm like, listen, like I need this. Like I can't go without it. You have to help me out. So actually out there in Greece, you don't even need like a prescription to get anything. And there's pretty much like, you know, duplicates of like, you know, the equivalent of like Pure Moist or the equivalent of, you know, whatever I would need. And so I kind of just went on like a scavenger hunt and just ended up like finding everything I needed for a day. Just ran to all these little stores. But yeah, it ended up being all right. But it was definitely a hassle to figure that all out.
That might be a good business gig, you know, like scleral lenses abroad. And like do all the hacks and like this is where you get it, you know, and then you get to travel to all the best places. You get to like write out your expenses, and then you you know, do like your YouTube thing and you get your sponsors, and you know, that sounds like a pretty good gig. But
that sounds pretty interesting.
I'd be happy to do that.
There you go. Great idea, Brooke. There's a nice side hustle for him.
There you go.
Yeah, it could be like backpacking with Ethan, and then it's like all these adventures that you have, and
it's like me like putting my lens in like some weird place that most people should not be putting a lens in,
like a desert in Africa somewhere.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and Ethan is a patient of Chris Sintz, and I got to know him through her referral to me when he moved down here to Bloomington a couple of years ago. So, because he's from Chicago area originally. I shouldn't say Chicago, North Indiana.
Close enough.
So again, just the value of having a network of fitters and people out there that we can inter-refer when our patients move around. I know that happens a lot, but something to consider. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And you can stay as long as you want.
Sure.
As long as you don't mind
yeah.
listening. So, and maybe you have some input for us too. So
Yeah.
we have a wearer's perspective today. So, okay, Carri. So, thanks for being with us. We've talked about having you on the show for quite a while, honestly.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So thanks.
Carri spent years, I won't say how many, as a lens fitter, a quite expert fitter for that matter. And then, how long have you been now consulting mainly for?
Yeah, so I joined Bausch & Lomb Specialty Vision in 21, so beginning of 21, so about 3.5 years. And so yeah, it's great to use all those years of experience in a different way to help practitioners and your patients. So.
And you're also on which board, CLSA or?
So I'm on the ABO and CLE board, as well as the new organization, the UOA, United Opticians Association, which just formed this year for opticians across really the world. So I'm on that board as well. So it's a lot of fun.
She's got a lot to share, everyone.
Yeah. I can't believe you've only been a consultant for 3 years. I was thinking that you were somewhere before Bosch because you like went up the ladder so fast. Like for those of you that don't know Carri, like Carri travels all over the country and the world, like teaching about lenses and like is the lead consultant. I'm like, that's amazing that you jumped into industry 3 years ago. I can't believe that.
Yeah, I pinch myself like every day going, oh my gosh, I get to do this. Like it's not even work. It's just fun. So,
but that, that comes from you being such a good fitter yourself for all those years. I mean, you had a level of experience coming into this job that was pretty much as good as anyone could have. So
yeah. I've oftentimes even said, I thought I was a really good practitioner before I became a consultant, but now that I've been a consultant, I think I would even be a better practitioner.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's interesting how that happens. So
speaking of that, I'm always amazed what consultants can do with rather limited information. I remember some years ago doing a little study where we were comparing fitting keratoconus patients in corneal GPs, soft lenses, and sclerals to see which ones they preferred for both vision and comfort. And a lot of times I would just send in maps and the consultant would make a pair of GP lenses and I'd get it back and I'd be like, wow, these actually fit pretty good. And all you had was this curvature map of the cornea to work with. So tell us, first of all, what kind of data is most useful to you or what makes it easiest for you to come up with a good fit?
Yeah, so of course, the more data, the better. But of course, the best quality is also important because sometimes we'll get emails with, say, 20 OCTs, but maybe we can only really use 2 or 3 of those because either they're poor quality or not in focus. But really the core things that are most important are topography, even just knowing the patient's diagnosis and background. What's great with my team in particular, and even our competitors that have consultants, as you said, it's a really small world in the specialty lens world, which I love. But we all pretty much have to have really good clinical background to be a really good consultant. So that if you say, Carri, I have this really drumhead graft and it's tilted and it's this and that, what makes me a good consultant as well as my team is the fact that we can actually visualize what that looks like. We've taken care of a patient in our chair that had a drumhead graft that was tilted. And so then it's like, okay, let's look at this topography. I can visualize what that looks like. Of course, if you don't have OCT, it just speaks volumes to have images taken with your phone. We get lots of just slit lamp photos or videos. And that is just really invaluable because it's literally like we're sitting there with you in clinic. We can tell a lot just by looking at a slit lamp video or photo.
Do you get most of those videos just come from people like shooting them with their phones or something?
Yeah, you don't even need like really expensive equipment. A lot of our practitioners will just use their Samsung, their iPhone, their Google, anything like that. They don't even have an attachment. They don't have anything. They just line up the ocular and they just kind of learn the best angle with the beam and the lighting. And yeah, if we have even just topography and images like that and maybe a little bit of diagnostic information, we pretty much can do all kinds of things with that information.
I tried to take video or photos through the ocular on a slit lamp, with my phone, and it just wasn't working. So I just zoomed my phone in and did it outside of the slit lamp, like keeping the beam and everything on it. And it was actually really good. I mean, that's so simple. If you just turn on like your cobalt blue light or whatever light source, whatever light you want on it, and then just position your phone outside of the slit lamp, but just zoom in. I think you can get really good photos, certainly good enough for you to see what you need to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will get those, especially if there's fluorescein in the bowl and just using blue cobalt, we can really just see the prism effect, the decentration. On the video, you can see how much it's moving. You can see how much edge lift there is, how much shadow there is, because so many times you just get a static picture and it's like, okay, we know that this is a dynamic system, right? We know it's changing when they blink and everything. And so having the video is really, really helpful.
So video much better than pictures if you can.
If you can.
Yep. Okay.
And a lot of topographers have pretty decent video too now, which is really helpful, especially in sclerals, because other than describing the sagittal depth of the vault, being able to see the edges and the movement. Like I feel like the movement of a scleral lens tells a big story on where the limbal or edge misalignment might be, and you can capture that with, like you said, Jason, with just a camera, a slit lamp, or a topography camera, a slit lamp camera. All those things are helpful.
I will say I love my slit lamp camera. I didn't have one for years up until like last year, and now that I have one, I feel like I can't practice without it, because I honestly, I love taking pictures and recording every fit, because I like to write down what I see in the exam lane. But then later on, like at the end of the clinic day, I'm like making my orders. And sometimes I'm like, what exactly, like, I know I wanted to flatten it, but like how much? And I could go back and look at it and like really assess it instead of on the spot when the patient's like staring at you and you're like, I just like to be able to think about it later on, or go back and say like, how did that lens fit like 2 lenses ago? What did it exactly look like? And honestly, hey, I'm a cold start. Okay. I'm on a budget, right? But my slit lamp only costs, like the camera, like it's like $4,000 or $5,000.
Very reasonable.
And like, think about how much you use it. I use it every single day. So I honestly feel like it's even more valuable than my OCT is for fitting, because it truly tells you what it looks like. But that's just my 2 cents from a cold start practice.
I was just going through my phone here and trying to see how many pictures of Ethan's eye I have, because we've taken plenty, and these are just taken again from outside the slit lamp, but you can see it's not bad. It certainly gets the point across. And again, one thing I think that for, if you don't do a lot of photos with your camera, is a lot of people try to like get the phone really close to the patient's eye when they take a picture, which is terrible, because then it's blurry. It's much better to stay back and just zoom your camera in. Much better images if you're back about a foot or more, and then zoom in with your camera zoom, rather than holding the camera really close.
And like straining the camera's focusing ability.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, because then when we do get images that are less zoomed in, then we can easily zoom it in and look at what we're needing to. The other thing I would say is sometimes we will get just pictures or scans of the practitioner's chart. So, there's still a lot of people, especially with specialty lenses, patient records, EMRs do not have good specialty platforms. They're just not built for specialty. And so we still have a lot of practitioners that have like a paper kind of chart that they're drawing pictures, and they will scan that in, send us pictures, they highlight it, they do all kinds of different things to show the fluorescein pumping and the rotation. So again, all of that valuable information is really all that we need, and then we can make the changes.
So when you have a practitioner who likes to take OCT images of fits and send that to you, do you have advice to them on how you want them to capture those images? What what pictures are best. I know, like, we always talk about, when you do an OCT, it's really easy to tell your patient, look this way, look that way, look this way. But ultimately that changes the perspective then.
Yeah.
And so we don't want them. But do you have advice to OCT takers with what works best for you, what areas you want to see, etc.?
Yeah, so there's, of course, a lot of different OCT instruments, and so some of them have limited capabilities. But the first thing is to make sure that that central scan that you are, central clearance, edge to edge as best you can, you want that to be as centered as possible within the optical zone and the pupil. You always want the patient to be looking straight ahead, as close to primary gaze as possible. Even if you have to get your edge images or having the patient look up and down, you want the patient to move their eye as little as possible, because Jason, like you said, when they move their eye in extreme gaze, it's going to completely skew like what you're looking at. So we really ideally, if you can switch, which a lot of practitioners don't know they can do this until we kind of talk them through it, but you can change your scanning line and rotate it vertically or rotate it 90 degrees. That is so helpful, because just getting kind of the horizontal central and then the edge showing the mid-periphery limbus going into the haptic is really helpful. But if you only show that in the horizontal meridian, it's only half the information. We really need that vertical, central, and then again showing kind of the mid, the limbal, and the full haptic. The other thing that's a really good pearl and tip is when we're modifying a lens, and say you have 4 different quadrants that you're modifying, like on the haptic, right, on the edge, then if you have a lens that is rotating 20, 30, 40, especially oblique, if you take that image at, say, 6 o'clock at 270, and that lens is rotating more than 15 or 20 degrees, you're not really capturing where that curvature is on the lens. You're kind of in between because of that rotation. So we usually recommend to take the image, the scan, when you're doing the haptic images, where the axis of rotation is. So take it at the 270 on the lens, not the 270 on the eye. Take it where that like hash mark is at 180, not exactly at 9 o'clock. Because that way we really get, okay, where this is landing on the eye with the rotation, what do I need to modify on the lens, and not in that in-between axis where we're not affecting that curvature.
That's brilliant. I hadn't thought of that before, but that makes perfect sense. And yeah, obviously, if you're going to make a modification, you're going to do it on axis of one of the major meridians, generally speaking.
Yeah.
So that's actually the data you want. Yeah.
The other thing that I feel, working with residents and students previously, when they take images, whether it's with a camera of some kind or whatever, they zoom in too much, and then you don't have like the whole picture. They'll get fixated on, say, compression over a pinguecula, but they'll zoom in so you only see the pinguecula, and then you don't see, well, is it because the lens is low and that's why, and that if you center the lens, that it's actually better aligned, or is, just different things. So again, kind of similar to what you said previously, like zoom out so that you can see the whole lens, or as much of the lens as you can, because you can always zoom in on that area, or at least have like a global picture. And then if you want to highlight the pinguecula, you can take one closer. But sometimes, if I'm not in the clinic and the resident is seeing one of my patients, they'll grab just a bunch of little pictures, and then you're like, that I can't really, like you said, Jane or Carrie, like I can't do a whole lot with this picture because it just doesn't show me enough of the entire system. So zoom out.
Yes.
Well, because you can always zoom in yourself if you
exactly.
Need to. Yeah.
Well, and if your OCT, so some OCTs, when you take when you download the file or take the screenshot of the scan, some of them will have the eye picture where you can see like your landmark of, okay, where are you taking this image? But some of them don't have that landmark for reference for the consultant to know, okay, I know this is a horizontal scan, but are you superior? Are you inferior? Are you central? And so if you don't have an OCT that gives you that eye photo image with it so that we can orient, okay, where is this line? Where is the scan being taken? Then at least provide details of, okay, this is central clearance. This is inferior. That way we kind of know, okay, what part of the eye in the lens are we looking at?
Sure.
Yeah. I have a lot of practitioners sending you like full scleral topography? Like what percent do you think you're working with those?
Yeah, I would probably say only about 10 to 15%. Most don't have the profilometry options to give us kind of the full view.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely growing, but I would say the majority are just sending us diagnostic and OCT. But there's a lot that don't even have OCT. So that's when we're really, yes, that's why we're really, recommending the photos or drawings or something like that to give us the picture. Because the other thing that we're learning is that, as we all know from being really seasoned scleral practitioners, it takes years to kind of really hone in your craft and really understand what you're seeing. And even now I look at something and I'm like, I need to phone a friend. Like, what is this? I mean, we're always learning. And that's what I love about this field is, one, there's always new technology, and two, I'm always learning. But at the same time, there's a lot of practitioners that don't even really know how to assess things, what to look at. So I think one thing that I know that I love about this role and my team really loves is that teaching opportunity, so that, send us whatever picture so that then we can say, no, actually, that's not, we don't need to adjust that edge because it's too tight. We need to adjust that edge actually because it's too flat and it's healing down. We get that a lot where there's kind of a misinterpretation of toe in versus heel down. Then once we show the practitioner what it is we're looking for, they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for teaching me this. And then they can apply that to their future fits. It's so rewarding. But if you don't have that information to look at that with them, then there's a missed opportunity to really just help. It's not just about our lens. It's about helping the practitioner grow as a practitioner so they can take better care of their patients. And that's something that is really important to me, but also to my team, to really just teach and educate, whether they're using our lens or somebody else.
One kind of last question here as we get close to ending. Regarding scleral topography, when someone sends you a map, I mean, how good can you, how useful is that map, first of all? Are most doctors that send you maps getting you reliable, good scans, or do you have to do a lot of interpretation? And then how close can you get with a map to getting a good lens most of the time?
So if it's a newer practitioner, that goes into that education part to have that conversation to say, okay, let's try this. This is what I need. For the practitioners that do a few scans and they've kind of overcome that learning curve, we get really, really good data and really good scans. The biggest challenge, of course, is getting the lids out of the way. Because if it's cutting off part of that data, then it's skewed, right? Like we can't really do much with that. If we get really good images, which again, educating them on how to get good images is paying dividends for us, because garbage in, garbage out. We do really good then at designing a lens just off those numbers and metrics. We kind of look at the prescription of the patient to kind of get an idea, but we know we're basically just designing a custom diagnostic if they haven't put on a lens with an over-refraction. But if they give me a diagnostic with an over-refraction and only scleral profilometry or topography, we can design a lens very, very good just from those numbers, with the different tools and calculators that we have. So I really feel like that's where the future is going to be going, because you can almost empirically fully design a lens, and that first lens is going to be pretty close to the patient's need, to where you just need to make fine-tuning kind of steps.
I never know, because I've been doing a lot of profilometry the last year. A lot of times I don't send the labs the scans, and I just kind of use them myself. I don't know, like, because sometimes I know the scan is a bad scan. And I don't ever want it to be like, here's a scan, and then it's like, oh, well, maybe we should trust the scan more than like your diagnostic. So I never know if it can like help or hurt sometimes. So usually I only send it if I'm really, I don't know. I guess I don't send them that much. But do you think it would be helpful just to have all of them like on file in case to reference? Or like you said, garbage in, garbage out. Sometimes I'm a little nervous to give out too much data, and then it kind of muddies the water.
So if you are in the position with your patient and you can get a good scan, just send us the best scan, the good scan. As we know, there's some patients that you just can't get a good image, So then it's like, okay, send the best that you can, knowing that this is the best I could get.
Mhm.
And then whatever diagnostic information you can also send for us to kind of couple that with to design a lens is where we usually end up, to where we use kind of the data from both to then come up with a really good starting point.
Yeah. I think the recognition, if you, like you said, if you don't have a great scan, just don't expect it to be perfect.
Yep.
You know, and if you come in and recognize, say, hey, sorry about the quality of the scan. I know it's not that great. I'm giving it to you, but I get it. It's not great. It's the best we could do. And I understand it's limiting what you can do with it. I think it's still always helpful. Any data, like you said, any data is good data. Can only help. So
Absolutely.
awesome. Hey, before we wrap up here, so I was just thinking about this. Ethan puts a lot of eye drops in his eyes every day. How many drops a day do you put in? Probably.
I mean, on top of just the medicated drops, like not counting, I mean, with the refresh drops and everything.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, 5 to 10 minutes every,
So like
refresh drop every 5 to 10 minutes.
So like at least 50 times a day you put in a lubricant.
At least,
drop.
yeah.
Okay,
sure.
so that's like 18,000 drops a year. And you've been doing this for like 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So we're talking in excess of 200,000 times.
Your face needs to be on one of those boxes.
Right.
No doubt.
Well, so what I was going to say is, if you don't mind, like, this is your party trick. Ethan puts drops in and he like shoots them at his eye from like a foot away and they hit every time. Can you do that?
Oh yeah, easily. I've done it in pretty weird places, like, on the skateboard, roll around, like walking, whatever, like,
You ain't bring them closer. Oh,
So he just shoots them in the eye from a few inches away and they go in every time.
Wow.
fast.
Yeah.
You should get one of those. You
know?
should get him a micro dropper, one of those little caps you can put on, so that way he's not spending so much darn money on his drops. Have you heard of those?
I tried. I think Refresh is a new one that I tried, and I don't know why I just didn't really like it. I think also like having the individual like vial like keeps it more sterile.
Yeah.
I can kind of recycle through them without having to put a cap back on all day. So,
Yeah.
But
some of your medication, it's a cap that's separate, and then you put it on your medication, and so it makes it, because the drop is too big to fit in your eye. That's why most of it rolls down. They have these micro droppers, so it like cuts down how much comes out. So like your different medications, they last a little bit longer. Not necessarily for like the preservative-free ones, but for some of your other ones.
Your medication ones.
Yeah. There you go. It'll probably save you like hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, right. Definitely would.
That's a good idea.
Awesome. Well, we are coming to an end. So unless
Can I wrap up with 1 second? I'm going to wrap up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, rapid fire, Carri, right now. What's your favorite color?
Aqua.
Do you still have a Blink for Me license plate?
Yes.
What's your favorite type of eye to fit with what you're doing right now?
I would say most rewarding are the ones that nobody else can fit.
Oh, good answer. Who's your favorite fitter?
Oh.
I plead the fifth.
I was trying to slide one in there.
She's like real fast. Don't even think and just say my name. Like.
Anyway, I think that's good to wrap up on. We all really love working with Carri, and a lot of the times we're sending pictures her way, drawings, and things like that. And she's a great reference for everyone, as is the whole team. I mean, you guys are always good. Have good recommendations when I'm kind of stuck in a pinch, even if I can't get a hold of you because you're traveling or something like that. So we love Carri, but you can really trust the whole team there. So.
Yep.
As always, please send us your cases. We love to go over pictures, go over images, and we can even talk about, is this a good quality image that a laboratory consultant can go over and help you with. And so please send us your cases. And you can catch us on Instagram at Overfilled_the podcast. You can catch us on Facebook. And you can send us an email too, overfilledthepodcast@gmail.com. It was good to spend some time with you all again. And we'll call it a week.
Sounds
Thanks
good.
for joining us, Carri.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
being
so much
with
for
us.
having me. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.